What's going on, YouTube? I am super stoked to be here with you guys tonight. If I can get my green screen here ready to go. Anyway, we're here with Jacob Hess from NexGenT. I'm super stoked to be doing this live stream with him. So let's just not even wait. Let's just jump right into it. So here's Jacob. What is going on, boss man? Uh-oh.
Enjoying myself.
It would help if I had your audio on the right thing. You say hello again.
Hello, hello.
There we go.
Oh, you got it?
Now we should be good.
All right, nice. Yeah, howdy, folks. So to answer your question again, yeah, just taking it easy here, just chilling out with Mr. Zach Hill on a Tuesday night.
It's a good time. That'd be a great Tuesday. So, a lot of my viewers are already aware of, the transition that I made to come over and join you at NexGenT. Which is super exciting for me, and I think a lot of my viewers have been super excited about it. But I would love for you to kind of share your story on how you got involved in IT. Let's just start from right there, from the beginning. Like, where did it all begin?
Yeah, sure. So first off, before I get started on my story, I have seen some comments and things on Zach's channel. So hello, everyone. Hello, all of Zach's followers there. He's got a great channel. Zach's already bringing a lot of great things to us at our company here. And so I just wanted to mention that real quick. So my story, my name's Jacob Hess. I'm a co-founder of NexGenT, but that's not always the case. Well, my name has always been Jacob, but I've not always been the co-founder of NexGenT. So I guess it's good to kind of give you a little history of how I got here and the what and the why of all of that. Well, first I had a love for technology. Now this started with just basic stuff. So like video games, right? I think it's interesting to think of the modern day and how people are being born into the internet age. Well, I was born into like the NES age, right? Like the Nintendo Entertainment System age. And I remember being 4 years old playing Nintendo, and that kind of sparked my interest in technology. Like, whoa, what is this cool stuff? And I was always just fascinated by it. And that continued throughout as I grew up. And I started tinkering with computers. I remember installing a DSL modem. That was my first networking project I ever did. I installed a DSL modem into my tower computer, and I was like, oh, I can do this stuff. I can install the DSL modem. That was easy. Just plug the card into the motherboard. That's what the motherboard is. Anyhow,
what year was that, you think? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. What year do you think that was?
That was probably 1998.
Awesome.
I think, or 97 or 96, man, I don't really know, somewhere in there. It was a while ago, not too long ago, actually, in the big scheme of things. But yeah. Sorry, how about you, actually? You mentioned, do you have a recollection of something similar?
Yeah, I actually remember. I was probably about 11, so this would have been like 1997 or so, 1998. We had this old like Packard Bell, and like for whatever reason, it was running like Windows. I think it was running Windows 3.1 at the time, and it would only stay on for like 5 minutes, and then it would just shut down, and it was just driving me crazy. And I remember just like taking off the case, like figuring out first of all how to get the case off was just like a challenge in its own right at the time. But then like just looking at it and be like, oh, like what is this? And then like I got with a friend of mine, a friend's dad, and he's like, oh, this is what this is. That was that, and I was like, this is amazing. Like that's what initially like piqued my interest of just like diving into it and be like, oh, like this is all a computer is, like just these like little parts right here, like that's the hard drive, and there's like the CD-ROM. I don't even think it had CD-ROM. It's probably a floppy. Like there's the floppy drive, like there's the RAM. It's like it was just really intriguing to me just to see that and to be able to visualize, like try to put that in, like into perspective in your head at 11 years old, like all of these little components here, like are like you could
somehow it pops up with what I'm wanting it to do as a computer, right? And it's funny too with all the different things we want them to do in it. And I think these things we're talking about is kind of like that spark of passion. And that's what I wanted to get to. Like ultimately, like this passion, if you get a passion for technology, if you have that at all, then getting into a technology career is a great move. I would recommend, because that's how it happened for me. And it sounds like that's also how it happened for you too, Zach. But it's funny thing, just, the funny thing about these things, just recollecting on it. I remember this computer, it was called a Tandy. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but what a manufacturer. But in any case, this old school computer, and I remember it had this voice recognition on it, and I just used to get a kick out of typing in the biggest number I could. It wasn't voice recognition, it was text to speech. Yeah. And that was actually around back then. Crazy, right? We think that's something new, but it's actually not. But I would type in the biggest number I could and just hear it rattle off whatever to septillion, zintillion, like all these crazy weird numbers. I'm like, I never knew these existed. So I think the point here is like computers just open up a whole nother world for us, right? And it's just a world that we can explore in every single avenue. In today's in modern age of technology, it's so crazy the different things that we can find out at the drop of a hat or snap of your fingers or whatever you want to say, cliche phrase there. But anyway, the point here is that these are the kind of things that got me thinking about IT. But ultimately, whenever I got exposed to the real world of like doing network engineering or information technology type of work was when I joined the military. I joined the Air Force. I was 17 years old actually when I went to basic training. I actually turned 18 in basic training, but I made sure I didn't announce that. I don't want to, weird things happen when people know your birthday when you're in basic training. So I shied away from that. But anyway, the job I went into was called Computer Network Cryptographic and Switching Systems at the time. It was called CNCS. That's evolved into a new career field now. Now we have the 3D career field and specific network roles. That was a specific network role, but it was older school. Anyway, point here is I got assigned this job and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to do something in technology, something with computers. Well, we got this computer network and cryptographic and switching systems. I was like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. I'll take that. Read just a little description of it. I think a lot of people end up doing jobs like this in the military, but for me, it was actually ended up being perfect because as soon as I got into it, I knew that I could love it. I knew that this was igniting the fire even more for that passion that already existed for technology. And I thank the military for that. They were able to take me from zero experience and bring me into a process where eventually I became a network engineer. And that's actually what we took in order to build the programs we have today is this concept, zero to engineer. Actually, we have this as kind of like an umbrella type of overall type of phrase or type of branding, you could say, over our training and our training academy and our programs.
And that really comes from your experience in the military. Like exactly. you and Terry, like that's how you developed what you're doing, essentially.
Exactly, yeah. And it's not rocket science, right? The military had been doing it for a long time. And when we started sitting down and thinking about it, like, and we'll get into more of the story, but there's just kind of a cool topic. When Terry and I were sitting here formulating, what we would do as far as changing the landscape of training, well, we knew that IT training was kind of broken in various ways, right? It was broken in so many ways. So we knew that there was a way that we could impact it. We wanted to get people the skills they needed whenever they were going to join the workforce and do something else than just people cramming for a cert and not actually having any of the knowledge related to that cert and then getting to the job. So those are kind of the problems we wanted to solve. And it was interesting when we just started talking about this, like, how do we solve that? It was like, well, you were an instructor and I was an instructor. The military's been doing this for a long time. They just take people from high school and they train them in a matter of months and then they send them to the field and they work on real systems and then they learn on the job after that and they can do the job and it's fine. And so many people got their technical chops in the military. There's so many very skilled engineers today that actually came from the military route. Other folks, at least, my peers, most people would go to college or something else like that. And that's how they got into the career. Or they just started out on the help desk or as in a technician, somehow they knew someone that got into IT. But times are changing. That can't be the only thing or the only ways that people get into IT now. Anyhow, that's kind of how we came with the idea. But I'll go a little bit more into my story and we can talk more about that too if you like. But I'll take a quick break, Zach, and if you want to say anything or add anything there.
No, I actually really enjoy hearing your story. Like when I bring people on, like it's really like I just love to hear what sparked this interest and what kept you around, for the amount of time that you have, so I think it's just encouraging for people just to kind of see that, where people have come from, where they've gone and where they're at now and how, especially with like you're impacting people's lives now, which is tremendous, right? Like it's huge. And you and Terry like saw this opportunity and I want to be clear, like I'm not trying to get on this whole like kick of what we're doing with NexGenT, but it's really phenomenal, what you guys have built. And that's really what, led me to you guys essentially and being passionate about what we're doing. I love that, but I just love hearing the story, man. Like, keep going with that.
Great, Zach. I'll pick right up on that note then. So, yeah, we'll go back to basic training, stuff like that. Got into the CNCS career. My first base I was stationed at after doing around 6 months of training in technical school, where I actually learned like circuit boards and soldering and things, and then learned my networking training. where actually in that school we had networks and we built them and we troubleshot them. Imagine that. We had to build a real network to learn how to use it. It's so funny because training has not been like that outside of the military, I found out. So anyway, you can get the relationship between that and the program. So I went to my first base, which was RAF Lakenheath, Royal Air Force Base Lakenheath in the United Kingdom. So I was 19 years old at the time, 18, 19. I go to RAF Lakenheath, which was great. The UK, it was awesome. I really loved it there. Fighter base, really just a great experience overall for me. But regarding the work experience, it also just really continued to ignite that passion. When I got there, as soon as I got there, we had asynchronous transfer mode switching across the entire base. You have to understand that military bases are kind of like college campuses. Some bigger, some smaller, but it's kind of a similar thing. There's a lot of buildings, and there's a lot of buildings that are geographically separated by kind of long distances. So in the modern day, we have fiber optics and things connecting them. But that's just to give you a visualization for what a military base is like. It's a lot of buildings. It's kind of the size of a small city, right? And so we had asynchronous transfer mode switches all across the base. Now, I wasn't like too familiar with ATM so much. We had been just learning Ethernet whenever I was in school. So I came to the base. They're like, hey, we're going to do an ATM to Ethernet upgrade. I was like, cool. That sounds awesome to be involved in. And so immediately within a month or two after I got there, I think it was within the first month, immediately got to work on this huge project where we installed new switches across the entire base. So we went to 100 meg Ethernet, fast Ethernet going to the desktop with a gigabit Ethernet backbone. And that was the bees. And hey, gig is still great, right? But we have now, 10 gig, 40 gig, 100 gig, even on our backbones. But in any case, that was a great project to get involved in. So that also helped spark my passion, seeing how it was done, and then seeing this expert guy come in. He was a CCIE that the Air Force had hired. He was a contractor. He came in. He's like configuring these switches. I'm like in awe. I'm like, this dude, he just knows all this stuff. It's like cool. And I knew some stuff too, and I got to be involved with it. And that really got my passion going. And I just really started getting good at it. I just loved it so much. And I loved coming to work every day. I'd come to work with a smile on my face. I was happy, doing the job. And so that just continued to build because I love my work so much. I did good work. I did better work. I was always passionate about it. People recognize that. They want to work with me too. I get selected to do cool things like going this Tiger Team 7 mission to Turkey and where we ended up going to Romania and deploying TDC ICAP. There's some folks here, if they're in the military, they're familiar with the system. Theater deployable communications integrated communications access package, something like that. Anyway, it was a bunch of switches and routers and transit cases. Say again, Zach?
I'm impressed you still remember that.
Yeah, these awesome acronyms, man. Oh, speaking on acronyms, this is another funny thing I always thought about when I was in the military. IT has a lot of acronyms, right? Well, being in the military, it's also just full of acronyms. So what you get when you work in IT in the military is acronyms within acronyms, sometimes also within other acronyms. And so it's just pretty funny in that regard. So I got good at like making this relationship to acronyms, which is probably why I remember some of it.
Yeah.
And it helped me in IT too, just that whole thing, because there's so many.
Yeah, it gets confusing for me at times, just being IT. Like, I got to look up some stuff. Yeah, I'll even know what it is, and I still have to go look it up again, like make sure, like I'm pretty sure that's what that means.
Wait, isn't IT an acronym for something too?
Yeah, right? Oh, that's funny. Sorry, I didn't mean to get you off track there.
No, man, no, totally fine. So yeah, that was just to convey. What I'm trying to convey here is not just a story too. I'm trying to help you understand that when you get into a job that you love, it's not going to seem so much like work. And that's how it's been for me. I really have enjoyed being an engineer, actually getting to become an engineer, but starting out in network support, being a network technician, just, really learning the skills to pay the bills, so to speak, and doing that in something I love. And again, doing that, it made me do good work, and people noticed that, and people would want to work with me, and I got selected to do cool things. I actually got awarded, what was it? Communications and Information Airman of the Year for 2003 across United States Air Force and Europe, which was a really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was stoked about that.
That's awesome.
But
dude.
it's not to, pat myself in the back or anything. It's just to show you like the results of having passion for your work. That's all it was, because I really love to do good work. And whether that was creating a cable, like folks, you have to understand too, it wasn't always just me sitting there typing on a computer or whatever. And, you know, I couldn't really be passionate just about that. The things that made me so passionate about being a network engineer is the fact that you get to work on so many different things. You get to configure a router, configure a switch. That takes your mind to figure out what exactly needs to be done, right? Sometimes you're troubleshooting, sometimes you're building a new system. You have to be creative to create the diagram. Sometimes you're drawing it out, right? Sometimes you're doing it on a computer, but it takes a creative mindset. And it also has that aspect of technically deploying things and doing the job from a computer standpoint, from a configuration standpoint. But then you also get to interact with people. You get to present your solution to people. You get to get other people involved. Like, is this something we want to do? Do you have any other ideas? Can we do this better? What is this entire network going to look like? What is the future of it? How many users will there be? How many users are there going to be now? How many will there be in the future? Now you have so many cool services and things you can add to the network that the options are basically endless. But that's also another reason why this brings passion to me, is because it's not just sitting there and typing in code. Like a lot of people might think about IT jobs. It's not at all what it's like to be a network engineer. You do get that. And especially if you go work in a knock somewhere, you'll be sitting there for quite a while and just doing your job and taking it easy, behind the screen. But doing consulting work is where this really shined for me, because I really started to enjoy the aspect of working with people. And
when did you make that transition from leaving military to consulting?
There was some other stuff in between. Yeah. So actually I got into consulting in 2014, actually. So a long time later. But I was in the military until 2008. And then from there, I was working for a credit union that has about 18 branches, probably 20 or so branches on the Gulf Coast. I was working there for 4 to 5 years before I actually did another startup gig. And then I went and worked as an IT consultant, as a systems engineer, actually, for a VAR on the Gulf Coast.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, and it's not just that too. I like to mention the physical aspects of things. Actually being able to go in a data center and rack mount switches and connect cables, that stuff's fun to me too. I like running cables, terminating cable. I like doing all of it. So to me, like, it's just a very comprehensive amount of work that you get to do, a variety of work. That's what I'm trying to look for, actually. It's a large variety of work where, there's always something new. There's a new challenge every day. And there's always something cool to work on, and you can be creative with it, and you can interact with people. And at the end of the day, you get to solve problems for people, and they like you for that. And it's great, it's great to be able to provide something to someone, to provide a service. I think that also hits on our heartstrings too. We provide service for one another. So it's got everything. It's got all the check boxes, I think, that a job needs. So anyway, that was a little tangent I know I went on, but
oh, you're fine, man.
To kind of catch you up on the in-betweens there for job progression. When I was in the Air Force, I had such a passion for the technology, but I also had this passion for communicating it to people, because I could see how, like, there was so many misunderstandings of things, and how important it was to actually understand things properly in IT, especially networking. Like, this, I remember, not an argument, but a conversation I got into when I got to my first base. Like, you don't need a trunk you have to have a trunk in all scenarios. I'm like, no, you don't. Not if you only got one VLAN. And people might not understand that, right? And I remember getting into that conversation. That was the first kind of inkling, was like, actually, I can explain this. And I went to the whiteboard, and I draw it out, and I'm like, see? It's like, oh, you're right. You're right. You don't have to show me in a book. You can actually explain where it made sense, why it would be like that. And so I started creating little trainings inside my departments. Whenever I was at RAF Lakenheath, I created a little training program. When I went on to my next assignment, was actually in San Antonio. I was stationed at Kelly Air Force Base. I was there for about a year and a half, a year and a few months. I was there, and my job was primarily to install fiber optics, which I thought was cool, actually. I didn't like being stuck, though, in just a cabling job. So I started building out Cisco training for the CCNA inside that shop, so that the folks there would actually be able to go on jobs and configure things, rather than just rack mounting a router and letting somebody else configure it. Well, heck, we should be doing it. We can do that. It's not that hard. And so I created this training program to get people up to speed on that. And what I'm trying to get to too is, this is also telling the story of how I really became an instructor at NexGenT, because all of that inspired me to become an instructor for the Air Force, and I had to apply for that. People do get voluntold as they say in the military. To do that job.
Voluntold.
But I volunteered for it because I wanted to teach, and I had this passion for that. And so I got selected to do that after I volunteered. Hey, they needed good instructors. They didn't know if I'd be good or not, but I thought I might be pretty good. So I went there and I did it, and lo and behold, I was good at it. And at least students liked my instruction. And so that kept sparking that passion more. So now I had this passion in both things, technology and teaching, that just kept building. And that's what I really love. And always loved teaching when I was in the Air Force. I taught for my last 3 years when I was in the military. And got out of the military. I wanted to spread my wings a little bit more. That is when I met Terry Kim. Now, I have a funny story about that too. I met Terry Kim because he interviewed me. He was the senior network engineer at the credit union, and he was over all of the networking team. So he interviewed me for a network support role. And I was just coming out of the Air Force. That sounded like a good job. I wanted to get started in something. And so, that's why I was applying there.
Real quick, Terry Kim is the co-founder of NexGenT, so everybody knows.
Yeah, we're co-founders, exactly. Thanks for that, Zach.
Yep.
Terry's actually the CEO of the company. I take the CAO role here over our academics, over our actual training. But yeah, he and I met whenever he actually hired me on to be a network engineer, network support, actually tech at the time. I think that was my title. But the funny story about all this is that Terry was also an instructor at the same base. We were actually in two different career fields, however. But the funny thing about these two different career fields is they ended up merging them right after Terry and I left, because these two career fields ended up doing very similar things. We both ended up working on routing and switching and networks, boom, and so they merged them. His was primarily supposed to be long haul circuits. They called them water walkers, tech controllers. It was a tech controller, which was a 3C2. I was a 2E2, which was more of an electronics field, which was the computer network cryptographic and switching. We had different schools we went to, but we ended up doing the same job. So he taught in a different school than I did. And so I never knew him whenever he was an instructor, even though we were there at similar times. So he ends up leaving the military. It was about 2 years, I think, before I did. Again, we didn't know each other. He leaves the Air Force. He starts a small business. He started an internet cafe right outside the base gate. So he started this internet cafe. And the funny story about all this is, there were students from my classes that were going into his internet cafe. And they're like, have you ever been to CompDot, the internet cafe right out the gate on Pass Road? I'm like, no. They're like, you should go there. My students are telling me, you should go there. You would love those guys. They were prior instructors, they used to work here. You would love them. You should go meet them. I never took their advice, but it was so funny. It was like the universe was trying to introduce me to Terry before I ever met him already, right?
For sure. It's so funny. It's crazy.
It's hilarious, dude. And looking at things in retrospect and how time, passes and what happens is pretty amazing, And I think everybody will find these types of things in their life whenever you go through life and look back on things. It's so funny how things pan out.
Totally agree.
The universe had kind of a different plan though, because Hurricane Katrina came and wiped out the base, and all the students actually were not there for a while, and it killed all their business. So we had to shut down the internet cafe. They ended up bringing back the schoolhouses, bringing them back online and everything, and got things started. But Hurricane Katrina kind of killed that for him. That's why he went and worked at the credit union. Anyway, so we met again. We met whenever Terry was hiring me on, and we both instantly, we liked each other. We had the same kind of ideas. We wanted to do something that was big and kind of affected people, and was something that was good on a larger scale. We didn't know what that would be, but we wanted it to be something in technology. But when we met and we started working together as professionals, as network engineers together, we also worked on these side businesses. The very first side business we ever worked on together was NexGenT. But at the time, it was Next Generation Technologies, you see. And we ran that for like 1 year. We ended up closing the shop, but we were trying to do funny stuff. We didn't know what we were doing. We were trying to sell VPN connections. Like, hey, let's set up these routers and just set you up a VPN. Why do I need a VPN? To connect to remote sites. Well, why do I need that? And I don't know. Can you just pay us for it and let us do it for you? We didn't know what we were doing. We were even building little websites and things. I sold the website to my aunt, great. It was awesome. Had her as a customer, but, and we were trying to get family support. So
of course. That's how it always goes, man. It's great.
Yeah. It takes a time to build things, right? It takes some time. But as long as your passion is there and you want something to happen and you keep putting in the effort, eventually you'll get there. Eventually you'll find it out. And it doesn't come so fast though. Like we had this idea to create a cool company together, and we wanted it to be great. And we had, this original company here, NexGenT. In fact, this is one of the original shirts. Actually, it's not. Well, is it? I can't remember at this point.
It is now.
We have some vintage stuff, We have one that has like IT support for SMBs, and it's got a firewall in the back, and it's kind of cool looking. But in any case, that was the first iteration of NexGenT. But we kept working our regular job. We shut that down, and like NexGenT went by the wayside for a while. Then Terry had this big idea, a grand idea, which was cool, that we could, maybe doing technology services wasn't the best route. That's like kind of a big thing to kind of chew on to start your own bar and things. How about we instead try to solve another problem in IT? Instead of just providing solutions, why don't we actually try to solve a problem? And so one of the first problems we could think of was project management. There's a problem around managing projects effectively in IT, and you got like your SmartNet contracts, you got contracts. If we could pull all the contracts and all the task management and project management into a single location online, then that would help, that we thought anyway. At the end of the day, we ran that for over a year or so, a couple years actually. We ended up having to shut that down too, because it was hard to build an app that differentiated enough from other basically task management apps.
Right.
And we ended up not getting the IT unique features like SmartNet contract management and all that. Reason why I'm telling this story is because, one, you never really know how you're going to learn things in life, right? But there's so many learnings that Terry and I took from starting that company. We called it Check Action, where we worked on that for a couple years together. And we actually, we weren't developers, software developers, so we ended up hiring coders, software developers. We built that app on Ruby on Rails, but it got us the experience of working with a dev team, managing a dev team, and understanding software a lot better, and understanding building something for the web and web applications. So it's interesting because all of that combines now. All the experience combines. All my experience in the workforce, actually wrapping that up with consulting work, because that really put the icing on the cake for me. If anyone ever has an opportunity to work for a partner, a Cisco partner, a value-added reseller, anything like that, then take that opportunity. We actually have right now, should I even say this? Yes, we have some students who went and worked at CDW. I'll just leave it, worked at CDW. I'll leave it at that as associate consulting engineer. So my point is, it's very possible to actually go from zero experience to land in a VAR. And if you actually end up doing that, working at a Cisco partner like CDW or something like that, then the experience you're going to get from that is going to level you up extremely fast. And that's what happened to me. I already had quite a lot of experience. And then I went into the consulting world working for a value-added reseller, a Cisco partner. And then all of a sudden I'm supporting 100 different customers, and I'm seeing all these different networks, and you're the responsible person. You just learn to have faith that even if you think you cannot figure something out, you're going to figure out how to do it. And that, while that may be stressful sometimes, it helps you really grow. That it feels uncomfortable, but you gotta put your money where your mouth is, so to speak, and you gotta do the job, right? And so you figure it out. And the great thing is you can figure anything out because you have the internet, right? So you just learn all these little other skills, and it just builds you. So if anyone has that opportunity to work for a VAR, I'd highly recommend that. Or an MSP, those are all great places to get started. But the reason why I was just mentioning the consulting is to wrap all this up into not entire life, but how long was this? Like, I don't know, 15 years of experience, 15 years of work experience, seeing networks, around the world, in the military, working in the DoD, then teaching as well, and then going and working in the commercial environment for a customer, so to speak, in the banking industry, then going and working for a consulting company, a Cisco partner, where Terry also went and worked for like Arista Networks and Cisco Systems, these big manufacturers. He also went and worked for Dimension Data for some time, which was the biggest Cisco partner. I think they are the biggest Cisco partner still, don't quote me on that, but I'm not completely up to date, but yeah, they're huge. They're one of the biggest, if not the biggest still. But in any case, we actually got this complete 360-degree understanding of the industry from all that. And so finally, we both arrived together at this point where we're like, hey, we actually understand the entire industry now. And we actually can see where the problems are, and where our domain expertise lies is in training and understanding of the industry. So let's combine these two things together to solve this problem in training. You think we could do that? Well, yeah, I remember Terry proposing this to me, and like, well, yeah, I love to train. I know I'm really good at it. And I pull this little thing, I forget where it is now, but I had this little plaque that some of my students gave me because they're like, "You're the best instructor online." I was like, I love it. It's great. And I was like, I want to do this again. It'd be awesome. And so we started just discussing what could that be. I was like, from a networking standpoint, because that's how we started this, was on a networking program. That's how we started Zero to Engineer and NexGenT as you know it, which is next generation training. We started it based on this concept that people have been having this whole entry-level networking thing wrong, meaning that you couldn't just get a CCNA or you couldn't just get a Network Plus or anything like that and expect to be able to actually do any job. What you needed was some more holistic training, and the training needed to be like the military did. It needed to be in a short, compressed model where it's very much real-world skills based and not very certification based, although certifications are a big thing, and we have certs in our programs, right? But
I like saying it that same way. Like, I'm sorry, but I do. I'm like, yeah, like we offer certs and whatever, but like, no, it's like these are real world job skills that like nobody does.
That's how it starts, and so that's where the thinking came. And it's like, what does someone need to actually be effective? And I remember drawing the spiral on my notepad. And I'm like, we start with switching and routing, and then this spirals out to wireless and voice over IP and security. And this could keep going too. It could go to like cloud and network automation. It could keep going, but there's a core there to the spiral, and it's not just route switch. So I created the FS&E program as a full stack network engineer. It's someone who can hit the ground running with routing, switching, wireless access, some voice over IP support, some network security knowledge, and maybe a little bit of network automation too. And that will be a really well-rounded package to get someone into the field. And they don't need to like be an expert at quality of service, but there's some things they should know, and they should know how to configure. And so I guess what I'm getting at too is like in our program, we teach some things that are intermediate and even advanced at some points, but we dumb it down enough to where we're giving you what you need to understand for the entry level on those topics, right? And those things. So anyway, the point is, compress as much training as you can. And our training is fast paced, but this is how we came up with this model. And that's why we call it military style training, because it's directly from the military. And it's based on training your real world skills and then checking you off, somebody actually verifying that you did the skill. He configured the VLAN. She set up the IP address on the router interface. She connected the trunk between the switches. The CCNA doesn't do that for you. No other certifications out there do that for you. Nothing, there are ways they can verify you configured something right, or you know how to answer a question about a command syntax. This, Zach, but it's funny. It's like mind-boggling to me when you really think about it. I think anyone else would think the same way. To get your CCNA or to get any other entry-level cert, you do not have to build a network of any kind. Yep. You don't have to actually build a network. Now, some people can argue that here or there. Yeah, sure, you got to do this package. But yeah, it's not mandatory though, right? And sure, Cisco has great labs and things, and they got Packet Tracer, and that's a great tool for learning. And I'm not trying to downplay Cisco at all. I'm just talking about the learning experience here, because Cisco's great. We train on Cisco iOS, But in any case, that's where I'm coming from, right? And so we created our own certifications that are based around real world skills, where they do like the military did. In the military, when you left your training and you went to your base, your supervisor would make you do things. And we had this thing called the Job Qualification Standard, which is the JQS. And you would have to be verified. Jacob could install the switch rack mounted. Jacob could console into the switch. Jacob could configure the VLAN. Jacob could configure the trunk. Jacob could configure the IP address. Jacob could set up the, everything. And check. And so that's exactly what we do for our certs that we call real world skills certs. And that's why they're military inspired training, is because, it's the same concept. They called it a JQS. We call it an SQC, a skills qualification check.
I just want to kind of provide some understanding to this, because you guys really do or have based it around like military grade training, right? So when you step foot into the military and you get, placed in one of these types of job roles or training, like, how long are they giving you from that start to like saying, okay, you're out in the field now? How long is that process typically?
It'll be between 4 and 6 months, depending on the career field you're going into. Around 6 months, we'll say.
And that's
around 6 months. Yeah.
How many weeks is that? Well, so we're doing 24 week program now. So essentially
networking training. Yep, that would actually be compressed if it was in the military. If you were doing it all day, it would be less. That's actually 6 months, but that could actually be less if it was full time. It wouldn't equate to exactly half because the brain can only take so much, beating on it with new knowledge.
Right.
In a certain
Right,
amount
but
of
no,
time.
but I think it's important to note that like here's the military, like this is what the military does to get these people ready, or going out and risking their lives essentially, right? Potentially based on the situation that you get involved in, right? But you are getting that training to actually go out there, do the job. Nobody does that. Nobody
Yeah,
does
I know.
that.
It's funny, right? Other career fields have it though. Like to become a welder, what do you need to
Yeah,
do? You
your
need to go to
apprentice.
VOTEC
Yeah.
school. You need to go to your vocational school. You need to actually weld stuff. To become a network engineer, you need to actually do network engineering first a little bit. And so we have students build out entire projects. So with our program, it's not that they're not building any network of any kind. They're building multiple networks of many kinds, actually doing it.
Yeah, and I just want people to like understand. And I've said this before. I'm going to repeat myself, especially to like the viewers who watch this channel all the time. But that was a big thing for me when I, was approached by Terry and hearing the story and hearing what you guys are doing. Because, for the past 6 years of doing IT career questions, that's always what I've seen is there's this lack of people having the actual skills. Anybody can go out and study for a certification, go pass a certification, but at the end of the day, that doesn't mean anything. Like, what do you have to show for yourself besides that piece of paper? Are you able to set up a network? Are you able to configure entire network essentially? And what have you done to prove that? And that's where like NexGenT had come into play. It's like, no, we're giving our students these projects that are going through from the start to finish and getting the real world job skills that they need to be successful. That's like what's so phenomenal, I think, about what we're doing. It's
Yeah, I gotta agree, and I gotta give Terry a lot of credit for a lot of things here too on us developing this program and how things came about. I take the coin on the full stack network engineer, right? But Terry's idea was totally about these projects, and man, was he right, because the projects are really great. It gets you so involved, and it's not just the fact that you're doing the project and you're designing a network and you're implementing. Of course, that's great, but projects in IT are a thing that you need to do and you need to be familiar with. So if you're already familiar with this project rollout process, when you get into the workforce, it will not be something foreign to you, and you'll be willing and able to understand and feel confident of taking on board projects of your own. So just simply the fact that you've been through this project process is hugely beneficial,
For sure.
And I like to give that credit to Terry. I created the full stack networking project, which is kind of like our flagship project, and we drew it out from there. But I like to give him the credit on that because that was all his idea.
We got to give him some credit. I mean, it's fine. He's not here with us, but we'll still give him credit.
Yep.
We'll still do it. But and just to toot our horn like one more time, I told you before we started, like I don't want to make this entirely about what we're doing, but I think it's important because it's what nobody's ever done. Nobody's doing this right now, and that's why it's so crucial and so why I can be so passionate about it. Is not only do we give people like those job skills that they need, like we have career coaches who are actually working with these people one-on-one, meeting with these people, talking with them, hearing about the goals that they have and where they want to go, and helping them with their resumes and their cover letters and doing mock interviews, and just the other day helping people with like their LinkedIn profiles. And it's just like here you go, where it's like, yeah, now we're doing these IT skills, people are getting that knowledge, but now like we prepare you for the actual like soft skills and like the job readiness as far as what to look for with getting out there and getting interviews and what you need to do, which nobody does, man. Like that is
Thanks
so
for bringing that
phenomenal
in the conversation here. I think that's one thing that also kind of really piqued your interest too, right?
Oh
Running
yeah.
IT career questions, you're like totally on board with that. Zach's been a really huge help for us coming on board in that whole regard too. And so I agree.
Like,
it's about a holistic thing.
Well, this is what IT, as far as a training standpoint, has been missing like all of these years, because it's essentially like this apprenticeship program, if you will, right? Like this is like what we've needed to really get people prepared for these jobs. And I've been saying this for years, like literally, like we need apprenticeships and we need like these more types of hands-on approaches to get people prepared. And it's like, here it is.
Yeah, here it is, and this is a model. No, we believe in this model for sure, and it can even be better, and it can branch out. Like you're talking about apprenticeships, having true apprenticeship You know, that would be amazing to get to that, which we're already working on a few things in that regard. But
I
a true
have mentioned
apprenticeship
that
is
we
when you
are.
have someone in class and then they're going to the field, and they're in class and going to the field. You know, we're working on getting some things set up like that.
I mean, we're and even still now, like that's essentially very similar to it, right? Like they're maybe not going out to the field, but we're giving them the training.
And stuff.
Yeah, they're taking those projects and doing them.
That's real work. Exactly. You're right. Like, in that regard, exactly. I'm totally on the same page with you there.
I get goosebumps just like talking about it and thinking about it, because like I have been so extremely passionate about getting that as part of, you know, a way to help people break into this field. And, you know, just seeing it in action now, like I don't know what else you could like. What more could you ask for with it? Like this is what people need. And I'm not trying to say like, hey, go join us right now because, you know, it's the best. But it's literally like this is what we've needed. And so I thank you and Terry like so much for making this happen, because I can say by far it's just phenomenal. Like I don't know what else.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate
what other words to like put into it. It's just like
it's not easy though. You know.
No, it's not.
That's
easy.
why you came on board to help us, right? You know, there's challenges to work through, and you know, nothing's, you know, just all puppy dogs and rainbows and ice cream, so to speak. But sure. You know, it's worth all of the effort, right? It's worth the blood, sweat, and tears, and it's worth, you know, everything it takes to create a great program and seeing the outcomes. That's ultimately why it's worth it. Is because to see people get in the career that they're passionate about and that they love, and seeing their passion for technology continue to get bigger and bigger as they're in the program. A lot of people come into the program already with obviously a little bit of passion for tech, right? But that's something we also pride ourselves in doing is helping spark that more and getting that passion burning more, so that whenever you hit the field, you're ready to go. You know what I mean? You're not just trying to get a job. You're like ready to go. Yeah. That is the point. That is the effect that we're trying to create in these programs. And so seeing the students hit that and being ready to go and nail it and like get a job as an associate consulting engineer right out the gate, and then getting accolades from the people who hired them on, being like, I can't believe that you knew nothing 6 months ago. I literally can't believe that. Yeah. You know how to build out the project, you know all this stuff. Like this was easy to onboard you. We had another, as an example, we had one of our students, actually this happened more than one time, but we had a student go to an interview, and the person interviewing them told the student that they knew more in their interview than some senior engineers that they had hired even.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
You know, you should have been, can I get that senior engineer job then? But,
yeah, right.
No,
right.
That's not what happened. You know, it's still
I don't want to like cut you off and stop you from talking, but it's like 7:50, so I want to mention like one of the things that we offer. Again, wasn't supposed to be like 100% advertisement for NexGenT, but hey, it's whatever. It works out. But so weekly we do like this meet the Rockstar Engineer, and that's starting in like 10 minutes. I know we have students who are in this live stream right now, so I want to make sure that they can get to that in time.
Great call there, Zach.
I want to bring you back on because I think a lot of people have had questions and we weren't able to get to that.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it again.
We're going to have to schedule that again because I think that's going to be a lot more fun to get people involved to ask these questions. But before we leave, I'm going to pop this up on here because I told everybody I would. December 10th and 11th, we're doing our first ever conference, our virtual conference and career forum. So December 10th and 11th, it's all about really helping you guys get familiar with the industry, right? But also kind of build connections with people and just be able to network with not only some of these professionals that we're going to have speaking, but, you know, build connections with, you know, other students that are there, the people who have gone through our program even, but also people who have never worked with us at all. It's about bringing a community together because, you know, 2020 sucked and not able to do like in-person conferences, so we're kind of offering this as a way to come together, hear from industry professionals on, you know, some of the up-and-coming technologies that are going on. But day 2 focuses on your careers and how you train like a champion, so how you take your training and really level up. And I will be emceeing the entire day 2, which I'm super stoked about because we have a lot of great speakers. I just want to mention this. There's a link in the description below. I really hope you guys go check that out and join us for this conference because it's going to be a lot of fun. for sure. There's more I could say about it, but I know we're running short on time. So, Chad, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, bro. Just want to put that out there. But thank you, Jacob. I really do appreciate you coming on here, man. Like, just hearing your story and hearing, you could just see the passion behind what you're saying. And it's, Terry, the CEO, he was the same way. Like, and I said this before too, like the first phone call I had with him, like I had goosebumps running down my back, like my body. Cause like, he just had me so excited for the mission, for what you guys are doing. And I can't even put it into words, man. I'm just stoked. Like, it's just so exciting.
We love you, Zach, man. We're happy to have you on board.
I appreciate that. But I want, what's up?
The match made in heaven.
Yeah, for sure, dude, for sure. So, can I confirm that I can get you on again? I'm putting you right on the spot right now. I'm sorry, I got to do it, but I want to have you come back on and answer some questions for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yep,
So we're gonna schedule that behind the scenes. We got like 3 more minutes. So is there, a couple more minutes, I guess. Is there anything else that you want to add? Like anything else you want to say? Like what advice do you have for people who are trying to get into the field? There we go.
Yeah. I mean, the advice I would have is to, just start tinkering around with stuff on your own first, actually, and go to Cisco.com and look at the equipment they have. Just go on, watch Zach's YouTube videos, watch our YouTube videos at youtube.com/NexGenT. Just start researching stuff. See what you like. Do you want to get into cyber? Do you know what cloud is? Try to figure out see if you can figure out what cloud means, right? You want to get into cyber, you want to get into networking, you want to get into clouds, you want to there's so many different avenues you can get into. Do you want to just do PC technician stuff? Like, there's people who like to do that, and that's fine. That's great. We need all that is needed. Mm-hmm. So my point is, research it a little bit. If you need help with that, you can come to us. We do have some free courses and stuff and things, ways that you can get rolling. But in any case, just start diving in, start researching it. It's not that hard to just get started a little bit, but there's so much information. So I understand in one way it is kind of hard. But my point is just go out there and start researching these career fields if you have any thought at all into getting into it.
Yep. Can anybody do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody can do it. Yeah, we have mentors who say that too. Arnell, senior network engineer at Uber, he's one of our mentors. He said, honestly, I think anybody can do this.
That's what I love to hear. I just want to hear more people say that. Like, anybody can do it. Like, you're a single mom, you're 50 years old, like, you can do it. You can do it, and that's...
If you want to and you have the passion and desire, you absolutely can do it.
For sure. All right, Jacob, I want to make sure that our students are able to get to the Meet the Rockstar Engineer, so I really do appreciate you coming on. We're going to get you scheduled again to come on and answer some questions and stuff. This has been a lot of fun. I love hearing you talk and hearing your story.
It was great, Zach. Thanks for having me on, man.